Guys, it's one of the best times of the year as a reader, which means it's time for the mid-year book tag, which is also a great way to find new book content creators and great book recommendations for the rest of the year. If you're new here, hi, I'm Shelbina. I have currently read 28 books this year with my average rating being 4.4. Last year, it was sitting at a 3.5, but bad news, it means I had to be extra critical about the books that do make it into my best books of the year so far category. Wasting no further time, we're gonna kick it off with Dune Messiah. Reading this book convinced me to read the rest of the Dune series, which I had zero intentions of doing at the start of the year. Now, because this is a sequel, I can't go into too much detail, so instead, let me just convince you and encourage you to pick up Dune. If you love political intrigue, philosophy, and science fiction, you need to read Dune. And for the ladies, I continue to be thoroughly impressed by how well Frank Herbert writes women. It is astounding, and if he were alive today, I would shake the man's hand because well done, sir. Now, this next book haunts me. And of course, I'm talking about Alchemized. Hear me out. This is the most well-constructed, deconstructed love story. However, this is not a romantasy. Make no mistake, this is a war story. You pick up this book, you're going to war, okay? All the romance happens in the background, but at the forefront is the war that's going on with our two main characters on opposing sides. It has an alchemy-based magic system with rich world building. I cannot, for the love of God, understand why there was no glossary included in the book, but the good people of the internet took it upon themselves, and you can find a glossary. You can also find a map, which really helped me out. And if you haven't read this book yet and you're looking for something to give you maximum emotional damage, might I suggest reading part 1 and 2 and then going back to reading part 1 before going to part 3, because that would be utter devastation. But if you're hesitant to pick this up because you think it might be too dark, always check the trigger warnings. But I was actually surprised with how tame I thought that this was. I thought it was going to be so much darker, which actually brings me to the next book, To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. This is marketed as a dark retelling of Rapunzel, and I thought this was darker than Alchemized, especially with the opening prologue. And although this is somewhat of a retelling of Rapunzel, Sarah A. Parker's spin and the world that she's created for this story is so refreshing and so unique that honestly, I feel like the only two things they have in common is that there's a girl and there's a tower, and everything else is so unique and captivating. I mean, even the tangles are completely different, and her take on it is so cool. And if you loved the creatures of Akatar, I think you're gonna eat this world up. Y'all are gonna have to forgive me for this one because I am gonna be a little sneaky and just say that this whole series made the list for the best books that I've read so far, and that is the Wolf King series. What did Lauren put into these books? Because there's gotta be actual magic in here. The hold that they've had on me is out of this world. I can't describe it. I even trauma bonded with The Night Prince because I was bedridden with fever for a week and I still couldn't put this book down. So if that doesn't say spellbound, I don't know what does. Now, I already know the main argument for these. Was some of the main things that happened in here predictable? Yes. But these books gave me the level of escapism that I have been chasing for quite some time. This author also did what I thought was pretty much impossible at this point with how much romantasy, fantasy that I've read, but she has managed to make Fated Mates interesting and exciting again. So if you're just looking for fun escapism with fantastic pacing, yearning, spice, and carefully crafted MMCs that won't give you the ick later down the line, this is it. Most read author. Guys, it's Frank Herbert. I'm currently 3 books into the 5-book series that is Dune, so I am committed and I am making my way. Book that made you happy. It's gotta be A Curse for True Love. Are you kidding me? The whimsy of this world is reason enough to just smile. And don't even get me started on the banter between Evangeline and Jax. I love them. This series was so good. Most unique read. Vita Nostra. Don't even have to think hard about this one. If you feel like you have brain rot and you love dark academia, psychology, and oddly enough, if you love grammar, I challenge you to read this. This is one of the most abstract stories I will probably ever read in my whole life. This is marketed as an anti-Harry Potter. It follows a girl who is mysteriously recruited into this obscure university for specialties. You don't know what the specialties are. Throughout her recruitment and time at the university, students are obligated to do these strange tasks given to them by their assigned guidance counselors, which is meant to help them come into their specialty, which they don't don't know, and you don't know what that is until the 3rd year of the school. And let me tell you, when you find out what that specialty is, wow. This is impossible to predict. You could never predict the twist that is in this book and what these students are becoming. And trying to understand it made my brain hurt. Yeah, just what? But please, somebody read this book because I need to talk about it. So we've talked about the good, and unfortunately now we have to talk about the biggest disappointment. And this one breaks my heart actually to say it. It was one of my most anticipated releases of 2026, and instead it has unfortunately been my biggest disappointment of the year so far. And that is unfortunately Light Wielder. Yeah, I don't want to harp too much on this because I actually adore the author. I've been to 2 of her book events, talked to her in person. She is the funniest, most down-to-earth, engaging author, and I'm rooting so hard for her. I don't know if it was because of pressure of deadlines or what, but I truly believe that she can deliver so much more than what this book gave us. Everything just fell so flat for me. We come into this book with a 4-year time jump, which I wasn't upset about, but I was expecting more mature, developed characters because of that time jump, for characters to feel a little bit different than where we left them. And there's some small twists in here that just felt really random to me. The romance was just super lusty. There was one sliver of genuine emotional connection that we got towards the end of the book that would have just done so much for me if she had put it more towards the middle or even the beginning of the book to just tie me to a genuine feeling that these two actually do have for each other, rather than just placing all the emphasis on the bond, because without the bond, in my mind, these two would have gone their separate ways and it would have made total sense to me. But please do not let me stop you from picking this book and trying it out for yourself, because it is getting 4 and 5-star ratings. So as with everything, super subjective. Because I'm rooting for the author, I am going to continue this series. It's going to carry on a different character story, and I think we're all here for that character. Moving on to Best New Author or Best New Author to You, and this has got to be Sarah A. Parker. I was so hesitant and nervous to try any of her writing because I've heard so many conflicting things about her writing style. You either love it or you hate it. Thankfully, I'm in the camp that loves her writing, and I can only speak for her To Bleed a Crystal Bloom series because I haven't picked up When the Moon Hatches, but I know I'm going to love it so much, so I'm very excited for it. But I love the amount of personification that she puts into her writing, even just to describe things that are inanimate objects. I'm obsessed with it to the point where there is a bit of an adjustment period after spending so much time in her writing style and moving on to a different book. I do have to get a bit of a breather in between her books because I just love them so much. And that is actually the perfect segue into the next category, which is biggest surprise. And it's Bloodbound. I'm gonna be honest, and this is why this book is the biggest surprise, because whenever I first read it, there was just a little bit of me, and this is probably coming from a Sarah A. Parker level of writing, that when I switched to this one, at least the first chapter, I may have been cringing a little bit. And that feeling really threw me off, but the story and the characters, they got me. It felt so refreshing to have 2 FMCs and to love them both so much. This book had a plot twist I didn't see coming, and the plot twist, ooh, it got me so much to the point that it became a 5-star. Another reason why this was the biggest surprise is because I picked this up and assumed that it was a romantasy. Wrong. The romance is a subplot. This is a high fantasy, and the way it's coming together is so refreshing. This is a fantastic debut novel, and it really impressed me because we actually get answers in book 1, but it leaves you wanting so much more, and it opens the door to so many more questions for book 2. Pacing is incredible and the world is expanding. The characters are absolutely lovable. So if you think this is just another romantasy, pick it up. I think it's gonna surprise you. All right, book that made you angry. She's right here. Yeah, if this wasn't such a brick, and if I didn't actually truly love and respect this story, then this would have been thrown out the window, because that ending, oh God, it still burns. It still hurts. But at the same time, I totally understand it. I get what Sun Lin Yu was trying to say. I do think it's a powerful statement. There's just some things that leave scars. Moving on to an anticipated release you haven't read this year. Naturally, this is whatever the heck this book is. Empyrean Book 4. There's so many theories going around. Personally, I would actually really love a backstory on Brennan and Naolin, because that is just a huge question mark. Or some people think that we could be getting a prequel to the first 6. There's some joke theories going around about it being a novella of Xaden's first year at Basgiath, or however the heck you say it. But you know what? I would read that too. And if you're not familiar with the Empyrean series, I'm pretty sure you might be familiar with Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is the first book and it kicks off the entire Empyrean. I am waiting with bated breath for this thing to come out. Here's hoping that it doesn't get pushed back. Now, this could have very easily been a tie with The Wolf King, which was slated to come out later this year, but unfortunately and painfully, it has been postponed to freaking May of next year. So don't love that, but do love that they announced that Starz is going to adapt it as a TV show. And I'm freaking out because I cannot wait to see all these characters come to life on screen. I'll pretty much watch anything that takes place in Scotland because that place itself is magical. So we're gonna wrap this up by quickly reviewing the books that I still need to read for the rest of the year. This is going off of my 26 for 26 reading list, and off of that list I have read 10 out of the 26, which leaves 16 left to go. I'm most looking forward to reading The Night and the Moth and When the Moon Hatched, though I did make it a personal goal to read The Idiot by Thanksgiving, and I feel like that is going to creep up on me because I am currently in a huge mood reading phase, and that's definitely not helping. But nevertheless, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please consider giving a like, comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!